Oh my god,
Jump!
David has an idea for a video, and by David I mean Luke, our fan on Discord and in the comments. Hi.
Hey, Luke. Yeah, so I'm using your idea here because this thing is intriguing me. This beast of Shonen
Now
Jump.
we have to pay him royalties.
Eh.
Donate to our Patreon so we can pay him royalties. Okay, we don't have a Patreon. It's a joke. Move on.
Yet. Anyway, like the beast of Shonen Jump has intrigued me for a long time of how they've run things, and we talked about it at length before. But here recently, they've been on this weird kind of renaissance, kind of like Cartoon Network, before
Yes.
Steven Universe ended last night.
When they realized that, like, okay, what's more important to us? Like, censoring things, being like a fucking hover parent of, like, at authors and being like, you have to do it like this, make your main character like this. Or then that one time that they let someone just do what they wanted, all of a sudden it got successful. And they were like, wait a minute.
Wait a minute.
This whole time, we thought we knew the best, when really, if we just fuck off, we make more money. I see this as an absolute win.
Yeah, so here's the idea that Luke had, and it's something I've thought for a while. And it's like Jump going to this bi-weekly rotation of series. And that got me thinking of like other ways that Jump can improve themselves. And Red, you and I've had this conversation, and Thurman, if you have got his lazy cunning ass up, would have been nice.
We think
but
Thurman may have stayed up until 9 a.m. because it is currently Michigan time, 12:45 p.m. I checked Facebook. He was active an hour ago. Vegas time, that'd be like 9:45 a.m. So I was like,
he can't adult.
Yeah, I called him 3 times. He did not answer.
But we've all had this brainchild for a while now, like rotating series, like
Let
maybe
me
have
explain. So like an idea I've had for a long time is, and I don't know what the logistics are. I'm not gonna pretend like I don't know how to run a business, but like to me it makes more sense for both money wise for them and like chill, like break time wise for the authors. Instead of having like, let's say right now, let's just make an example. Let's say they have 10 series in the magazine, and each series is every week, right? What if instead they had 20 series, but instead of every week, you have each series alternating, right? So you have 10 that have chapters on the first and third week, and then the other 10 that have chapters in the second and fourth week of the month, right? So then and then maybe like the chapters are like, I don't know, 5 pages longer, like nothing that would like eliminate the extra time they have, you know what I mean? Like it's like a slightly longer chapter, so people are like, oh well, it's worth the wait. And then like the authors get more time, their schedules aren't as bad, because everyone knows how bad the authors' schedules are. They're sleeping like 4 hours a week, or 4 hours a week, Jesus Christ, maybe 4 hours a day.
If you're Oda or Togashi, maybe.
Yeah, well, Togashi takes his break, so if he wants some sleep, he says fuck you. But like, yeah, so like this, I just always thought that that'd be a good idea, is like, hey, double the series, have it alternating week by week, and have, the authors have more time. Because I think every series I read where the authors have unlimited time, not unlimited, but like way more time, it's always better. Like Hunter x Hunter is a perfect example. Like you can tell when he wants to like sit down and really think about like some complex storytelling, he just takes a hiatus and then he comes back, and it's like I have no doubt in my mind, and I'm sure Togashi feels the same way, that Hunter x Hunter would not be as complex and like interwoven and crazy if it wasn't for the fact that if he had to do that week by week, never having a break to think, I'm sure it would not be nearly as good. And Oda, of course, is like a freak of nature. I don't know how he does it, but like, yeah, so I just think it'd be better for everyone, and that's always been my idea.
Yeah, so I look at series like fucking Spy X Family. I look at even the Boruto manga, it being monthly, the Dragon Ball Super manga, it being monthly. Like, I look at these series that have this longer gap, and I'm like, it's almost as if right now, the longer they have their free time, the more they can actually draw into their, not just the art style, not being this manufactured, over-edited bullshit like your My Hero Academias and everything, but they have more time to write these more complex plots. They have more time to write all this crazy, wacky bullshit. I mean, Dragon Ball, it's the fucking definition of turn your brain off, shonen.
Mm-hmm.
I know some of our fans hate that phrasing. It is literally turn your brain off, watch the pretty beams, and everything goes boom.
Yeah.
But, like, even that itself has a better story than, say, your My Hero Academias, your Promise Neverlands, because it has...
No, I mean, I think My Hero Academia has a good story. That's me personally. David likes
Yeah.
to shit on it, but like I think My Hero Academia is better than Dragon Ball Z easily.
But like plot wise, it has more time to flesh itself out. Like it is not without a doubt the most generic fucking shit on the planet.
Well, I guess you're talking about Super. I haven't seen Super.
Super. The manga itself is just insane. I'm actually, even as somebody that doesn't like that shut your brain off shonen, I'm like, okay, this is pretty fucking cool.
I mean, there's a place for it, you know.
Yeah, everybody has their turn their brain off series. For some, it's Chainsaw Man. Me, I grew up with Dragon Ball, so fuck it.
Yeah.
We stand Dragon Ball here.
I do not stand Dragon Ball. It's just okay for me.
I don't really stand Dragon Ball.
Hey, everyone, you can stand whatever you want to stand. If you want to stand that okay boomer girl.
No.
Okay, boomer.
That is still one of the most hilarious things.
Have you seen that video I retweeted where it was like an animation? It was like, okay, boomer, okay, boomer, okay, boomer.
I saw
boyfriend. Okay, boomer.
I
okay. And then everyone's just unfollowing her and reporting her.
I fell over laughing watching that. But for me, I look at everything that's happened since, I guess the fucking first part that first time I noticed the Jump's status as a trouble imprint was when they turned away the fucking Attack on Titan author, and then I just watched the series of chopping blocks come down.
Yeah. Well, so when was that when they turned down Attack on Titan? Was that like 20? When did Attack on Titan start? You know?
I think it was 2011.
Hold on, I'm checking. So let me see here. Attack on Titan. So that series
2009.
started... Really? Are you fucking kidding me? That's crazy. Okay, so
it has been out over a decade.
That's insane. Yeah, so I would guess then maybe he had his meeting with them, or around 2008ish. And I'm trying to think what was happening in Shonen 2008. Like that was obviously the era of the big three. You had Bleach out, you had Naruto out, you had One Piece out. They thought that they had it figured out. They had an archetype, and the problem with creative people being ruled over and controlled by non-creative people is that the non-creative people that run the businesses and the economies and the merchandise, they think they want to butt into the creative part. It's like, no, you sell shit and make money for me. I'll do the creative. Thank you very much. And
2008, 2009, we were having To Love Ru, we were having Siren, Toriko, Kuroko's Basketball, Ice Shield 21, Sket Dance. Hitman Reborn, Bakuman, Gintama.
Right. I just remember though that was like a thing. Like for a while they had a hard time doing new series. Like I remember especially when Bleach and Naruto ended, there was this like clamoring to get new series, and like you had Red Sprite that failed, you had Demon's Plan that failed. I don't remember all of them, obviously, just the ones that I heard about. But like people started realizing that your typical cookie cutter shonen wasn't enough anymore, and this happens with all art. It's like you can see this with like paintings back in the day, like the Renaissance and the post-Renaissance and the Impressionist, and like you kind of go in a cycle where like you start with like this really realistic, bland storytelling, and then people want to mix it up, and then it gets weirder and weirder and weirder and weirder, and we're at like max weird right now, and eventually people are going to get nostalgic for the normal again, and you kind of go in a cycle, right? So like we are in the era now of like, go as weird as you want because people dig it. Chainsaw Man's weird. Like I wonder how a manga with a guy, riding a fucking shark into a flesh tornado, fighting a sexy bomb lady would have flown back in the 90s. I have no idea.
Yeah. See, that's the part where I'm kind of at this loss. Like, a lot of what we're seeing now with your Undead Unlucks, a lot of the shit with Spy X Family, it doesn't seem like your normal Jump manga anymore. It seems like the more they want to take the risk, the more freedom we get, and the more we have people talking about these series, and it's leading to massive critical success again. And this is something we haven't seen in Jump since the big three.
Yeah. They're all out uniquing each other, whereas, yeah, go ahead.
The first one really took me away, regardless of everybody's feelings on it anymore. And this was back right after, we saw Logan. We've talked about this story quite a bit here. It was like coming back and me reading.
Came back from the theaters. David and I had seen Logan, and then I was like, you got to read Promised Neverland, and they were still in the first arc. They hadn't even escaped Gracefield yet, and that first chapter was just such a good hook. And it was the first time I had seen a dead child in a Shonen Jump manga.
Yeah,
And yeah,
like
go ahead.
that's there was the first time I'm like, they're actually taking risks again. And this is something we hadn't seen since your Death Notes, since your fucking even Bleach could be considered a risk at changing the entire premise from like this slice of life to this battle manga. Like the genre shift was the only risk they really were willing to take for a while.
Yeah,
And
like,
now we're at this
good.
We're at this renaissance where we're having dudes hanging full dong, we're having flesh tornado battles, we're having stuff that is like a fucking Junji Ito manga.
I'm into it. Yeah. And stuff like JoJo's Bizarre Adventure really trailblazed that, because occasionally you have an author that just kind of breaks out in success, and then like the execs know, like, well, we can't touch him, obviously, like he knows what he's doing. Saying like Oda can do the same shit. Oda can do whatever he wants too, same with Togashi. But like, I think that they're taking that approach with more authors now, because I think that they realize that, there's really the sky's the limit at this point. There's nothing that's going to be I don't think there's anything that's going to be too absurd for people to take. Like, I think they used to think like, well, that's too absurd, no one will read that. But I think we're at a point in creative history where like there is nothing that's too absurd. You can have the most absurd concept ever and someone will like it.
Absolutely. Like, it's really a weird era to be a part of, and I'm completely down for it. But what I want to see Jump continue to do is take these risks and not fall back into their old habits. I want to see them give authors more time and more freedom so we can have more masterpieces like we're getting right now. Here in about a month, if Undead Unluck continues to be the success it is, we'll start covering it. And that being basically my third series here on the channel, that's something I haven't done in ever.
Triple review David.
Like, because it's a series I'm genuinely interested in. It's fucking
good. It surprised me.
I thought, it's just gonna be here to trigger people. Like, that's what I thought its whole purpose was just how fucking far can we take this bullshit? And
South Park the manga, which under that logic you should still like it.
I really do. I mean, I'm the South Park stan, but my God, and it's something I never experienced really in manga, is just like this unfiltered bullshit, and it's something that I'm like, what the fuck? The first chapter when we did the video, I'm like, holy shit,
titty groping goodness.
This isn't going to last, and here it is. It got an almost instant print of its first volume.
The only reason corporations pretend to care about what insulted people say, like only reason Disney responded to the James Gunn shit, only reason I'm trying, like, whatever place fired Vic Mignogna, like, it's all money. There's no one that's making those decisions. It's never about a moral thing. Even if the person making the decision does disagree with the person that did the thing, if they thought it was going to hurt their pocketbook, they would not fire them. You know what I mean? The decision was 100% based on, will firing this person or stopping doing this thing make us more or less money? And typically when they fire someone, they worry it's because the outrage has gotten so big that
it's hurting their bottom
dollar. That it would hurt. Exactly, right? Whereas Undead Unluck, I think they're smart enough to know there's a vocal minority on Twitter that's upset about it, but like not enough to outset any gains from people that like it, so they don't give a fuck.
My favorite example of this year is, remember back when Kingdom Hearts 3 came out and the Chinese version came out, and it was the Winnie the Pooh scenes was nothing but a white light because
the president of China is insulted by Winnie the Pooh
because he got drawn as Winnie the Pooh.
Apparently that's a joke. I don't know.
And every time now when something is censored or easily edited outable, like the LGBT representation in, I think it was Onward, the new Pixar movie, where there's just like this one scene and it's just there, like, oh, we're woke, and it's out over in China because there's no human rights in China, really. So that's the running joke is Disney bows to them.
Oh, every corporation. Yeah, Google's the same way. Google used to have a thing in their handbook. The very front of it would say there was like rules of working at Google, and one of them was don't be evil. And the reason they had that in there is because they realized the power that they had by being Google. You could literally shape, like I can't think of the word I'm talking about right now. You can like shape people's consciousness essentially because like everyone uses Google is like seen as this like omniscient godlike fucking being of knowledge. No one questions Google. So like
Exactly.
it's
very
good.
It's very dangerous to be in that position of power, and in a way, we've seen it come full fucking circle now. Like corporations bowing to everyone.
Well, yeah, the reason I was bringing up Google is because like they used to have a kind of a rule against that, and of course, now like you see like China had an ultimatum like, okay, well we're only letting your service into our country if you censor whatever we want you to censor. And basically Google had this thing, or China was about to make their own off-brand Google because that's what they do. They have all their off-brand shit because they don't care about copyright laws and shit. And by the way, I'm not making broad generalizations about the Chinese. I'm talking about their government. Their government they were just going to make an off-brand of it and be like, fuck you, we don't need you. And Google is, that's a lot, there's billions of people in China. So they bowed down to the money and they said, sure, of course, we'll help you shape your totalitarian state and trick your citizens into believing whatever, you want them to believe. And of course, this all, if you're wondering what this ties into, it barely does, but I'll tie it back into what we're talking about, which is just corporations needlessly fucking meddling with shit that shouldn't be meddled with for profit, obviously.
Yeah. And I mean, we haven't seen Jump itself really needlessly meddle to this point.
I mean, except for, just in case you don't know the story David was talking about here, when Attack on Titan was originally pitched to Shonen Jump and they told him to make Eren more like Luffy or Naruto, like dumber and happy-go-lucky.
And they said, fuck you.
Yeah, especially now that I've like watched Attack on Titan, that's very integral to his character, the fact that he's so angry and, you know what I mean?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I guess in their own way, they do kind of meddle. Like, there's editor meddling, and we've heard little bits and pieces of that, throughout Bleach.
Yeah, and remember Shonen, when Kubo ended Bleach, there was an interview, and like he pretty blatantly, and this is why for a while we were wondering if he'd ever come back to Shonen Jump because he just kind of like blatantly fucking roasted them. But he basically pretty blatantly said, there was like I think the question was, what advice do you have to people, like new writers going into Shonen Jump? And I believe he was like, don't listen to your editors. They're going to fucking suck all of the creativity out of your series dry. Especially if you're a new author, you think that you have to listen to them. You think they know what they're talking about. They don't. Do your own thing.
Yeah, and that is the best advice to any real creative. Like, do your own thing. Don't let people, meddle in your fucking art. Your artistic freedom is everything in this kind of medium.
Outsiders looking in will always want to fucking put you in like this cookie cutter thing. Like Utena, our artist on the channel here, she's told me about how art classes in like high school, they only teach you how to do art in like predetermined ways, which is, goes against the very fabric of what art is, which is, new creative expressions,
Yeah, and they teach you like impressionism. They teach you like fucking the basic, like your Mona Lisa type paintings. They teach you some sculpting. Like, do it in the way that a fucking Michelangelo would do it. And it's stupid. I loved art class as a fucking kid.
Oh, it was definitely fun. Gave you something to do other than math and shit. Yeah.
When you look back at it, they really do kind of put you into this creative box. Mm-hmm. And that's everything that goes against what art should be, like you said. And it's bullshit, and fuck, man.
It's bullshit and fuck.
The more I listen to Utena's like stories on that, I'm glad that she kind of broke into her own style and didn't fall into that trap, because we wouldn't have the beautiful styles that we have here on the channel if she had fallen into that trap of like, you can only do art this one way.
And like American art school teachers are usually really against like the anime style as well. Like they shit on that style so hard.
They really do. Yeah. When I was in fucking art class, I was like, I want to make dragons and shit like that. And because I was what I was in 8th
you fucking
grade,
weeb! You disgust me!
In 8th grade, like, I want to make dragons and I want to do fucking beautiful fight scenes and shit like that, and I can't draw to save my fucking life.
Same.
But like that's what
That's why we hire
do.
someone for it. None of us can on the channel.
I have my own wacky style of I do stick figures. I've tried and tried.
David's new and unique wacky style, stick figures.
I used to do like little comics where I would draw stick figures and start tracing and everything from like little tiny art books. Like this is how you do arms and everything.
Twist,
and I would do like I called it like Super Dog or some shit like that.
Oh, you missed my joke. Now
like,
you have to make sure to refute that. As a plot twist, David is the author of Adventures of God. This whole time you've been pushing it to me. It's actually you. I mean that's about your comprehension level of art right there.
Pretty much. I'm not even gonna try to refute that. Like that would be my art style if I was able to do anything. But I fucking love that series. If you haven't read it, read it. It's fucking hilarious. Adventures of God. It's on Webtoon. Fucking hell, man. We've rambled on long enough.
Final thoughts on this topic, brother.
Like my only concern moving forward with Jump is if they were to not keep going down this freedom path for authors and start reining everybody in, we're going to see more Samurai 8 cancellations. We're going to see a whole line of shit go away.
We just gotta hope that they keep their management the same, because I think current management's pretty good. The fear is always when they have like a big shift in power and like someone new comes in and they think they have to fucking like they over worry about it. Like I've seen this with my job right now. They had a boss that was like really cool and chill and like she knew how, she just let you, she trusted everybody, and then this new guy is like, oh, all these new rules arbitrarily, rah! You know what I mean? Like
and that's kind of what happens with any regime change. And as long as Jump doesn't go through the ending of this renaissance that we're in right now, where we have full batshit creative freedom, where nothing really matters to them, as long as they're not violating a fucking law, they don't give a fuck what you draw.
As long as it's not legitimate, like porn, like actual porn, we can get up there. We can get close.
We can get close.
We can have a lesbian harem like scissoring on a color page, but like you can't see the tits or the vagerbs.
And you can't, not have a long enough bar on Andy's dick.
Oh yeah, that wasn't there like a author comment where he was talking about the length of the censor bar?
Yeah, that's why I was referencing it. Like the only thing I ever have to really do is, extend the censor bar because it's never really long enough.
You never know how long. And also, like that leaves the imagination how long his dick really is.
Right.
He's got a bit like I like to imagine when he's jumping around, it's just swinging in helicopters.
It's just like a horse dick.
I mean, why do you think fucking I've forgotten her name already. The lucky girl. What's her name?
I forget.
Why do you think she's so interested, bro? One day they're gonna fuck, and then like the Earth is gonna implode.
Can he really utilize that massive dick properly?
Literally, by the way, they are going to fuck, and the Earth. I'm not kidding. If you haven't read that series, the Earth will actually implode. Like if they fuck, I'm not. Just go read Undead Unluck. I'm not kidding. Like if they fuck, the universe is over. I'm telling you right now.
And all we're going to see is like this really, really small person and this massive hulking man.
I read it was one of the newer Deadpools where like what it took to finally kill him was like our Earth and like an Earth from an alternate dimension colliding to kill him.
Yeah.
That's what's going to happen when they fuck.
Like, okay, here is Auntie Andy and Andy.
Because like that series is built on escalation, and it's all about like the bad luck gets worse the more intimate and longer we touch. So obviously fucking is the end game of that.
Yeah.
And like, so I'm sitting here
we're
like,
in the end game now.
What is the end game other than like total universe collapse?
For real, man.
First chapter, they had a goddamn meteor from like a peck on the cheek. A meteor fell down.
It's insane. Like that series.
I can't imagine that shit's gonna be that long. I really can't.
It's not. It's gonna be like maybe the length of fucking Full Metal Alchemist.
Nah, we're talking Samurai 8 length. I'm telling you.
So we're gonna cover it for 20 chapters.
That's why I'm saying I don't know about reviewing it. Hopefully, I hope it's longer for your sake and.
like I kind of agree with you, but it does seem like they have an actual
Yeah, if they
timeline
have a
planned.
place they're going, hopefully, yeah. I actually haven't read it since I need to get back on it. I was the
I'm
last
on
chapter.
chapter 8 right now.
Yeah, last chapter I read was the one where someone was walking down on like invisible stairs in the ocean.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway,
There's like 11 chapters so far. So
main point of this is corporations stay out of art. I think they have to, interfere to make money because our business is to make our shareholders happy because that's what we do because
well,
we're capitalists.
I live by.
But the point here is
I
that
think they live
you
by
can
the
have the
mindset.
best of both worlds. You don't need to interfere, and if you just let artists do the right thing, if you get the right artist, they can just do the thing and make you the money, and then everyone's happy. You get the money, they get the money, and they make what they want. So shut up.
Yeah.
Stop being douchebags.
Yeah. So I think they live by this mindset of like, we have to please everybody and no one all at once. We have to make sure our shareholders are happy. We have to make sure everybody in the fandom is happy. I mean, look at how Horikoshi got dragged, for God's sake, over a fucking name.
Yeah.
To the point where Weekly Shonen Jump put out a fucking corporatized bullshit letter. And the only thing I thought of was like South Park's response when China was like, "We're pulling your show from the airwaves." Like that's literally what I was hoping Horikoshi would be doing, just like dropping his nuts on the desk. Suck it. But no. No, he caved and did his thing, and he's like, I apologize as well. But I don't think he really had a choice in not doing anything either, because he is their fucking bread and butter right now. Like, if My Hero got pulled from Weekly Shonen Jump, we'd be in that dark age again. As much as I dislike My Hero Academia, we really would be back in that, like, we have to literally police everything.
Sorry, I was kind of I spaced out a bit. What was how are you tying it to My Hero Academia?
The name issue with the doctor.
Oh yes. I mean that's just there's nothing that Shonen Jump could have done about that. That was just a certain country being upset.
Oh yeah,
different countries have different cultural things. Like it's just like how all the fucking like underage shit that happens in Japanese media that like America's not used to. You know what I mean? Like you're never gonna be able to please every different culture unless we make like a universal culture that everyone agrees on. You know what I mean? Like
and that would never happen.
Yeah, it's never gonna happen. So my take on this is make what you want. If someone's insulted by it, that's their prerogative. Okay, then don't look at it. Move on. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's like fucking Sakami-chan, famous, ecchi H artist on every platform. Really, their art gets put everywhere. But like when they drew Nezuko from Kimetsu no Yaiba, they're like, "Oh, that's pedo." It's also just art.
Yeah,
you can look
like
away.
that is a touchy subject, and like
Right.
I don't even like to go into it honestly.
I don't really either.
I think that
that's the thing. I'm like,
there's a place to. I will say that obviously, like certain art, it's all in the way you draw it, right? You if you're drawing, for example, like a naked woman, you can draw it in the sense that's definitely just art, and you can draw it in like a sexualized way, where it's probably meant to be more pornographic. There was a great tweet that showed it was like the same scene being painted by a woman and a man, and it was like two women that happened to be naked, like executing a guy or something. It was like Renaissance style, like old school shit. And like the one painted by a woman, like it wasn't sexualized at all. You could barely, like, the boobs were there, but they were just kind of there, and they were like realistically kind of saggy, all that shit. And then of course the guy one was all like their chests are puffed out and like they're all like wet and shit. You know what I mean? Like so like that's kind of the difference. Is like if you're drawing something like if just a person naked is not immediately pornographic, you know what I mean? It's all about that. And like I think to as large as we possibly can, we need to just be like, art's art, unless you're literally like calling for something. Like if your art is calling for genocide or calling for like something fucked up, fine. There's a tiny little line at the very end where we can say, I think you've passed what is allowable in art, but I think it should be very, very fine line, because I don't like censorship in any regard unless you're literally like doing something super illegal and bad.
Yeah, that's the point I was trying to get at there when you kind of stepped in there. Like, that line.
Well, I step in when I think someone is letting the point get away from them, and then I try to fucking help with the wording. That's why we do a co-host thing here.
Yeah, but like that line has to be very, very far to the end, because I am as anti-censorship, especially in the arts, as humanly possible. But there is a fucking line there that does not need to be
like
crossed.
Shadman. He's the line.
I mean, even some of Shadman's shit's not that.
I don't
horrible.
think he shouldn't be arrested, but like
he has crossed that line quite a.
Yeah, the thing with Shadman is like,
but a lot of this shit that is like.
Go ahead.
He knows what the fuck he's doing.
Yeah, he's trolling, and
like Shadman knows he's. Yeah.
It's annoying to me because like he knows he's trying to fucking prod the bear, obviously, and like to me, at my core, I don't believe in like anyone getting in trouble for a drawing, because it's still just a drawing. You know, calm down, son. It's just a drawing. Meme aside, like it is just a drawing. To like get someone like literally arrested or fined for a drawing, I think is a little ridiculous. But there are certain lines. For example, I believe he drew someone's real life child in like a lewd position. That I think is a line. That's
that
because you're
one,
using someone's likeness, and it's pedophiliac in nature. So yeah, I mean, you just gotta you gotta come together as a society and think of the lines. But like in terms of someone, you know, like that country got mad at using a name, I don't know, that's like a country's culture, and like, okay, well, if one country is angry at a thing and the rest of the world doesn't give a shit, I think that's that country's fault. You know what I'm saying? That's their problem.
Exactly. Yeah. Like there's so many different issues in Jump, like the fucking Oda fucking Kenshin author interview being this fucking clash. There's so many little tiny things in Jump that have just recently been like, what the fuck? Why are we doing cancel culture in Jump, which is an art form? Because two people are friends in a fucking magazine in a fucking country where things are different.
Honestly, like, at this point, I think Japan should just fucking they just need to really hunker down and just make their laws a bit more like, at least the laws when it comes to consensual sex, they should just fucking make it a bit more like every other Western country, so they can stop with these. It's causing more problems than it's worth. Like at this point.
Well, if I'm not mistaken, they have recently changed it. It's just
right.
The stuff that he was.
Shit. Yeah, they just need to make it very clear, like
destruction of that kind of media, stuff like that. Yeah. Especially now that they've changed their laws, like that kind of shit needs to happen. But at the same time, like two friends hanging out, having an interview about their fucking art form, who the shit cares?
Like, yeah, I don't condone anything that the other guy has done.
Right.
But I also don't like guilt by association. So, like, guilt by association meaning, like, oh, Oda was in a room next to this guy, therefore he's condoning what he did. No, that doesn't mean that. I hang out with David a lot, and, you know, he's got a lot of shit he's told me about in his past that I won't go into, obviously. But, like, it doesn't mean I condone everything he's ever done. You know what I mean? And, like, we all have shit like that, you know? I have shit I've done and made mistakes. I'm sure Thurman does, too, you know? But, like, that doesn't immediately mean that we all condone what each other lives for, stands for, thrives for, etc. by being next to each other. That's about my only thing to say on that. Do I think that the guy, the Kenshiro guy, got off a little too light? I do. I think that was the main issue, is that he really just got off with like a fine, is my understanding.
Fine and a couple days in jail.
Yeah, like that's a bit weird. And that's a problem on Japan's law enforcement.
Yeah. Like there's a lot of things that I don't condone that have been done in fucking that. Like I think Toriko's author was involved in that kind of shit too.
Yeah. It's a lot more common over there, you know, and doesn't make it okay. I think that they need to step up their law enforcement for sure.
Yeah. I think that's what led to Toriko's cancellation too, if I'm not mistaken.
I don't know, because I thought that what he had done was before his series, because I remember King of Lightning talking about it. Like he was in jail, he got out of jail, and then he made a fucking awesome series, and it was kind of like a rags to riches story where like he came back from that with a cool series, is how I understood.
Oh, maybe. I was never really a big Toriko fan.
Neither was I.
Like the power system was cool. Other than that, another generic turn your brain off series to me.
But it's a question you got to ask though, because what sucks is I think people don't think about this enough. Where you're born is like heavily influential on your value system. you know?
Yeah.
And like if where you're born, they're just kind of like they teach you that like certain things are okay, but then like 90% of the other countries in the world think you're a monster for that. It's interesting, you know. You got to be, you know, like because morality is an interesting thing. We have to kind of agree to it as humanity, right? And like, so we have to kind of sit down and be like, okay, what do we consider bad? And like, we got to try to get as many people as possible to agree to that. You know, so like generally, I think most people can agree murder equal bad. You know.
Yep.
And like, you just gotta go down that line.
But also, where do you draw that line in murder equal?
Exactly. Right.
Better? Is it self-defense? Is it? Yeah. Like,
the more deeply
would you be able to pull the trigger?
Yeah. The more deeply, the more you just sit down and think, the more gray morality becomes, and it becomes harder to pin down people as good, evil. You know what I mean? Like, I think a simple-minded person is able to just be like, well, that person's evil and they deserve jail for the rest of their life, or they deserve the death penalty. Well, that's a very simple way of thinking, because you got to sit down and think what made them that way.
So one of your favorite scenes in Attack on Titan, Red, is where Eren just goes killing the sex peddler in fucking
right, and that's because I like that scene, not because his anger is clearly not directed at the person itself, but rather the systemic nature of like how bad their lives are. How I read
so
that
here,
scene,
$1 million, but you're in that same situation. Would you be able to metaphorically pull the trigger?
What, like kill the guy?
Yes.
Well, yeah, it's a self-defense situation. They were going to die. Like, if I'm in a situation where it's I'm going to die or the other person's going to die, 100%, it's self-defense.
Thank you. But in our culture, that's still technically murder. That is, you go to jail, you die. Even if you're in self-defense. There are plenty of cases where people have been in jail because they've killed out of self-defense.
That's true. I mean, and that was even an issue in that show, where like people were looking at him like it was self-defense, but he stabbed the fuck out of him. So, you know what I mean? Like, you got to be careful about like you know how violent you're being and shit. But like, point being, we've really lost the main point of this video. But it's a good conversation.
Last 15 minutes of this could be a blooper reel.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'll put it up. It's whatever. But yeah, I mean, yeah, I like that scene because it's like he's angry at the systemic nature of like their lives are so bad already, and like he's like we're living in like a pen, and it's like a tiny little corner of the planet, and that's all of humanity, and we are constantly every day we're under like threat of extinction. And meanwhile, you fuckers are still gonna do a fucking sex trafficking ring. Like, really? We can't have even that littlest bit of solidarity among humans? Fuck you. That's why he was mad at that guy.
Yeah, for sure.
Because he said, like, this is what you get for being what you are. You're a scum. You're a disease. But yeah, really, I don't know. Final thoughts on this topic and everything we've talked about, because we're hitting 40 minutes.
Yeah, I told you we'd almost make this into an hour video somehow.
Yeah, we just went off topic massively, but that's nothing wrong with it.
Dude. Oh, man. But no, like, Jump as a whole here has got to keep with this fucking Renaissance era. This is the second time we've wrapped up this video, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
They got to keep with this Renaissance era. They got to keep going forward in this fucking style that they're doing now and not cave into, you know, the cancel culture that's going on social media. They got to keep this fucking passion for letting authors do what they want, but also not giving them too much time because there are plenty of starving artists out there that need to get into the magazine. And that's where the bi-weekly series idea comes in, is like, if we were able to get rotating weeks of this, or even monthly, like allowing authors to do like one chapter a month, we could have so many more young artists get their shit out there and be able to, you know, grow and create instead of just sitting in this queue like you're at the fucking airport waiting to get on a plane. Like, oh yeah, and your time's here, departure now, you got 10 chapters to wrap this shit up or you're canceled.
Yeah, you know, I mean, you got to find that happy middle ground, because I also like how because Kishimoto put in one of his author comments, these days with how amazing CGI is and all that shit, the greatest advantage of manga is how quickly it comes out. Like that was, I need to find it. It was one of the Naruto author comments in one of the volumes, but he was talking about how like the only, in a lot of these authors' minds, the only thing that keeps them relevant in the era of like big CGI movies and all that shit is the fact that they're weekly. and there's like there's a high return rate. You know what I mean? And I get that. I think there's an element to that. I think one of the things I love about it is that it's weekly. So I would worry about going monthly. I think bi-weekly would be fine. But you have to find that balance of like giving them time to fucking sleep, because they should be able to sleep and like have a healthy life, but also like, you know, quick enough to make it like a semi-regular thing, keep it on people's minds so they keep coming back to read, shit like that.
Yeah, like that happy middle ground of like bi-weekly. I guess I can kind of get behind that. Like, even if I do like when series go monthly, like Red,
but you can't just like completely negate the point of it going monthly by making it like so long. Like it negates the entire point if it's like way longer, right? So like if it's like the length of 4 chapters anyway, then it's pointless, right? My idea is kind of like a bi-weekly, and then you slap like maybe 5 extra pages on there, so like you feel it's semi longer of a chapter, but really they have less work to do with more time to do it. Yeah,
like Spike's Family is a perfect example of that.
Yeah.
And seriously, that series is what really got me into that mindset of like, maybe this is the right way to do it, like, because it's basically the same length as a regular fucking chapter, you know, but it also has more detail in the background. It has more detail, and the story, because they're able to take that freedom and just use that extra week to polish everything up.
I can speak as someone who's taken for fucking ever to edit like analysis videos. Like when you have that time to just chill and like sit on it, you think of ways to improve your project, and then you come back and improve it.
But Shadow Beast video win, Red.
That one's so old at this point. I'm like, honestly, I'm gonna script it. I'm planning on scripting a new video this weekend since I have literally nothing to do. So,
yeah, you got all day tomorrow until I get
home. I got
home
all day today.
Oh yeah, true. I mean, you still got like 9-10 hours of the day left.
I mean, I woke up at like 9:30. I have more time awake than not awake left. Don't you fucking degenerate my day into like smaller just sections. I have forever.
That.
Oh really? Are we piecing there?
Up to you, man.
Whatever, bro. Peace.